We just had the pleasure of receiving your testimony last month on our reconstruction efforts in Afghanistan. We thank you for that. And your GAO team's assessment of our oversight and accountability of U.S. assistance there in Afghanistan. And while this report is focused on our democracy and governance programs in Egypt, your report has a certain similarity to the previous one. You reported that even though State and USAID have been receptive to your recommendations, and from looking at the report, you paint both agencies in a good light in terms of how they reacted to the NGO trial in Egypt and how they supported the 4 NGOs and the employees. But there's still a lingering problem with the access that you were given. You told us at the last hearing that it would be helpful if State and USAID granted your team more timely access to the documents that you had requested, and I'm seeing that same theme in this report. Could you comment on how this issue, timely access to documents, impacts your work?
Yeah, I'd like to note that we continue to experience some challenges in getting timely access. The process in particular for getting access from both USAID and State, in particular on this Egypt engagement, was quite burdensome and difficult. There were, both agencies required, as I noted in my last testimony, our employees to go to a reading room to look at materials. They limited our ability to take notes and also to make copies of the documents as well. This is definitely an unnecessary and unburdensome type of approach for us to do our work and provide you guys information in a timely manner. So we continue to experience some challenges with both agencies. In particular, Egypt is one of the case studies that we've worked out in agreement with USAID to see how things can be improved. And I would have to say that this case study has not gone well at all.
Well, following up on what you just said, you say that lessons learned from Egypt should inform future U.S. plans, and that Egypt is a model case. But clearly, this all happened, or the process began several years ago. Is there any indication that State and USAID identified these problems in Egypt and began implementing corrective measures across the board to avoid a future scenario like the one we saw in Egypt early on in the process? And has there been this, or has there been this slow learning curve?
Well, one thing I want to note is it has been made clear to us, and we have seen this in the work we've done, it is definitely a challenging situation that the U.S. government finds itself in, both State and USAID. With respect to lessons learned, as I noted in my opening statement, they were aware of the risk back in 2005, as early as that point in time. There have been some actions that have been taken that they highlight in terms of establishing working groups and country groups to look into this issue. As part of our recommendation, we always follow up to see to what extent is that going to specifically address what we have asked for. That is to document the lessons learned and to apply those to future plans going forward. So we will be monitoring that. I think they have up to 60 days to respond to their authorizing committees in terms of their specific actions, but they did concur.
Thank you. Your report and testimony discusses the U.S. government's work with these NGOs and our democracy and governance programs. During the course of your field work, though, you interviewed local Egyptian NGO workers and government officials. Who did you meet with in Egypt, and what did you take away from that meeting? Do they feel like civil society remains under attack? How does the Egyptian government describe the case of these NGOs and their employees? Because I remain concerned that they aren't really sure yet which direction al-Sisi will take Egypt, and the new constitution certainly included some good revisions, but also some troubling ones. The new NGO draft law is very troubling, and the mass arrests and the trials aren't in line with democratic ideals. And one of the most important things that al-Sisi can do to prove to the international community that he is serious about leading Egypt into this new era of democracy is to pardon these 43 NGOs, and the U.S. must continue to press this as a top priority. Al-Sisi says it's not within his power, that he cannot do that. Can you tell me about who you met with and what is al-Sisi? Should we push him to pardon it, or pardon them, or will he not go that way?
Okay, we actually had a lot of success in country meeting with various officials, U.S. government officials, as well as some of the civil society groups. And in addition, we met with some members of the Egyptian ministries, in particular Dr. Barker, who was the deputy, at the time was the deputy minister of international cooperation. Different viewpoints and different perspectives. Obviously, as I noted earlier, there's some disagreement between the two parties. Let me first comment with respect to the meetings we've had with the U.S. State Department and the USAID representatives. They made clear to us some of the positions they were taking in terms of not agreeing completely with the positions that the Egyptian government was taking and what they were doing to support the NGOs, and in particular to find some relief for those who were prosecuted. With respect to the Egyptian government, most of the meetings we had, basically, their position was that the NGOs were in violation of their Egyptian laws, in particular, and that
They were not given a chance to register.
exactly. There was a lot of, and that came out of a lot of the focus group meetings we had. We met with about 17 civil society organizations in country, had various roundtables. The views were a variety of views, but in particular, we did hear quite a bit that the registration process was extremely burdensome, and some had registered as far back as 2006, and were still waiting on registration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson.